America, we got to get back to doing what's expected of us as free citizens in this democracy. That means being tolerant, being respectful, staying informed, and being engaged. I'm former Congressman Joe Walsh. Follow me here and join the millions of Americans who are renewing their social contract with each other. The social contract, it's on us. I've only been a Democrat for almost 4 months now, and I can't tell you, no regrets, none at all, becoming a Democrat, but I can't tell you how frustrated it is, how frustrated I've been, how frustrating it is. My new political party, the leadership of my new political party, the establishment, the Democratic Party establishment just does not get it. Just does not understand this moment we're living in. That right there is the biggest source of frustration that I've got as a very new Democrat, man. They don't get what we're living through right now. Democratic Party leadership, the Democratic Party establishment, most of the Democratic grassroots voters out there, they understand. They get it. They wake up every morning grabbing their muskets and they're ready to go. But the leadership, the bosses, the brain trust, that Democratic Party establishment, they just don't fucking get it. They're still living like in 1995. And like when you go back, and I'm believe me, I'm going to get this to the government shutdown in a moment, but bear with me for a moment. I was out there every day last year for the 3 months that Kamala Harris was the nominee. I was out there every single day in the battleground state, every single day, campaigning my ass off for Kamala Harris. Former Tea Party guy Joe Walsh campaigning his butt off for Democratic nominee Kamala Harris. And when I was out there on the campaign trail, I would say Donald Trump is a fascist. He's a dictator. He's an authoritarian. If we reelect him, he will be a fascist, a dictator, and an authoritarian. He is an existential threat to our democracy and the rule of law. I said that damn near every day when I was campaigning. You know why I said that every day in Pennsylvania or Arizona or North Carolina or Nevada? Because I believed it. I believed it. I wasn't a Democrat yet last fall, campaigning for Kamala Harris. I was a politically homeless independent, but I believed what Donald Trump was. An existential threat to our democracy and the rule of law, a fascist. I said that on the campaign trail and I believed it. I wasn't alone. Kamala Harris said it. Kamala Harris, when asked, called Donald Trump a fascist. Joe Biden repeatedly said Trump's a fascist. He's a threat to democracy and the rule of law. Everybody said it. And then Trump wins in 2024, November. And Biden and damn near all of them just kind of shrug their shoulders and say, oh, well, never mind. He won. Let me invite him to the White House for tea. Biden invites Trump to the White House. And the Democratic Party, then Trump wins. The Democratic Party tries to get along with him, tries to work with him, tries to see, and they say publicly, let's see if we can work with this guy. Everybody out there who on the campaign trail was calling him a fascist and a wannabe dictator. And the minute he wins, they forget all about it. Let's go back to business as usual. Let's see if we can work with him. You either believe it or you don't. And this is why so many voters in America are like sick of all politicians, and so many Democratic voters are sick of their politicians because it's like you were lying to us. when you said Trump was a fascist. If you say Trump's a fascist and he's a threat to democracy, you have to treat him that way. And I don't mean to pick on Biden. He was the sitting president. Damn near every Democratic senator did the same. Kamala Harris respectfully went to his inauguration. They all did it. And then when Trump was sworn in, Democrats filed in to go to the White House to try to work with him. What I'm saying is, if did you not believe it? Biden and Kamala and Schumer and all the rest of you? Barack Obama was out there. Did you not believe it when you said, as I said, Trump's a threat to democracy. Trump's a threat to the rule of law. If we elect him, he's going to rule like a fascist, like a dictator. Did you not believe it when you said those things? And if you did believe it, well, then you don't try to work with him. You don't make nice with him. You don't coddle him. You don't enable him. This is different. We ain't never had this in America before, right? Never had it. If you believe what you said, we've never had it. The very thing our founders feared in the White House right now, we've never had this. If you believe it, then that calls for a much different game plan. That calls for a much different roadmap on what you need to do to fight this threat. And my new political party just has not gotten that. And I look at the government shutdown right now. Hakeem Jeffries on MSNBC last night before the shutdown. We're trying to find reasonable Republicans to work with. Hakeem Jeffries said on national television. We're trying to find reasonable Republicans. Hey, Hakeem, good luck with that. Good luck with that, man. That's the talk of like 1992 or 3 or 4 or 5 America. That's not now. Reasonable Republicans, they don't exist now. For the leader, the Democratic leader in the House, to say he's still trying to find reasonable Republicans to work with 2 hours before a shutdown, that's a man, Hakeem Jeffries, that just does not fucking understand this moment we're in. Which brings me to the shutdown. And I say, as a new Democrat, I think Democrats have botched this from the very beginning. I want Democrats to fight. I want Democrats to pick their fights, knowing that they have an existential threat to democracy and the rule of law in the White House. See, the setting, the context matters here. Government's about to shut down. They need 7 Democratic senators, Republicans do, to keep the government open, okay? But the setting is the guy in the White House is a fascist and his political party is a fascist embracing cult. So there aren't no reasonable Republicans. Every Republican in the House and Senate will do exactly what the fascist in the White House tells them to do. That's the context. The context is the guy in the White House for 8 months has been doing 100 lawless and corrupt things, unconstitutional things every day. You know, I was thinking last night, Trump's tariffs are utterly unconstitutional. Trump's use of the military, playing cop on our streets, utterly unconstitutional. And yet we have no Congress right now, and we can't trust the Supreme Court to follow the law and the Constitution. We're in a very bad place. That's the context, though. Okay? And Democrats should know that. And the government's about to shut down. So Democrats, you had, and I said this publicly, you got 1 or 2 plays. Either just don't fight on the shutdown thing. Leave the shutdown thing alone. Just vote to keep the government open for another 2-3 months, whatever the Republicans want. Big deal. Donald Trump is single-handedly fucking up America's economy with his tariffs and deportations. He owns it. Let him own it. Let the Republicans own it. And oh, by the way, voters got to feel the pain. They voted for this. And talking about extending those Obamacare subsidies that the big bad, ugly bill will get rid of at the end of the year. I know Democrats want to fight to save those, but you know what? Maybe the American people, plenty of Trump's voters, depend on those Obamacare subsidies continuing. So you know what? Let them expire. Let those people who voted for Donald Trump feel the pain. And stay out of a shutdown fight. Keep the government open because Trump owns all the chaos and incompetence and economic pain in the country right now. If you shut down the government with the Republicans, then Trump, it can just complicate things and Trump can blame you. So one of your plays, Democrats, was don't fight this battle. You got other battles to fight. And by the way, Trump's a dictator. By the way, he's putting military on our streets right now. I don't know. That's a bigger fight. That's a more important fight. That can't happen in America. So leave the funding of the government thing alone and fight him on everything he's doing right now to destroy democracy and the rule of law. That's what I would have done if I were in charge and a Democratic member of Congress. But oh my word, Democrats, if you are going to fight on this shutdown thing, because your voters want you to fight, and Chucky Schumer, by the way, can we all just agree that Chucky Schumer's time is done, right? He should not run again. But Chuck Schumer, who kept the government open in the spring because he didn't fight and everybody got mad at him, Democratic voters got mad at him. So Chuck Schumer's going to fight on this one. Democrats, if you're going to fight on the shutdown, because yes, Republicans own the House, the Senate, and the White House, and they need 7 of your votes in the Senate to keep the government open. So if you're going to fight, you know they need you, and you're going to ask for something. You're going to demand something if they want your votes. Then damn it, demand something that will impact what the fascist / dictator is doing. Again, I wouldn't have fought on the government shutdown. You know why. But if you're going to fight, then demand, okay, Republicans, you want our votes on keeping the government open for 2 months? Okay, I want every military person off of our streets in 48 hours. I want no National Guard that the president sent anywhere in the country. I want no Marines. Get rid of them all. No military on our streets, Republicans, and we will give you your 7 votes to keep your government open for another 2 to 3 months. At least fight Trump on his being a dictator. At least fight him on the more important cause of defending the Constitution. Remember the context. This ain't a normal president. This is a fascist. That should have been your ask, Democrats. You want to keep the government open for 2 or 3 more months? Okay. No military on our streets at all. It's wrong. It's unconstitutional. It's un-American. And oh, by the way, you need our votes. So here's 7 Democratic Senate votes. Get the military off of our streets, and we don't want them on the streets anytime. Again, lay the law down. That's the horsey trade. And by the way, that addresses a much bigger pressing issue than anything in that big, bad, ugly bill. We're talking about the Constitution of the United States of America. We're talking about a fascist who is using, as he made very clear yesterday, Donald Trump did in that speech to 800 generals. He is prepping the military for orders to fire on American citizens. I don't know. Now, I've only been a Democrat for almost 4 months, but that's a much bigger fucking deal than trying to extend some Affordable Care Act subsidies, or maybe extend some Medicaid funding. Which, by the way, all of this, how do you negotiate with Trump and his people, anyways? Because the Supreme Court's made clear and Trump's made clear they're going to decide what they spend money on and what they don't spend money on. So again, I go back to, we don't have a Congress and the Supreme Court we can't trust, which is why I wouldn't have negotiated anything to keep the government open with these Republicans, because after you cut a deal, they'll just change the deal once it's done. But you get my point. If you're gonna try to hold anything over Republicans' heads to keep the government open, it better be something that addresses the immediate danger America faces having a fucking dictator in the White House. And one of the most immediate pressing dangers is our military on our streets. That's a no-no. That can't happen here. That doesn't happen here. That's what our founders feared. That's what our founders and then prior generations said and legislated to the effect that must not happen here. Military does not play cops on our streets, not in this country. I don't know, Dems. That's a great thing to fall on your sword on. So my new party has botched this. They've messed this up. And I think the reason they've messed it up is because they don't understand the moment. The leaders don't understand the moment. Too many of the elected officials don't understand the moment. They still somehow feel like they're dealing with a President George W. Bush, and they're dealing with Senator Bob Dole in the Senate. Right. And back in the good old days when Republicans and Democrats could yell, but then sit down and cut some deals, the normal, typical political horse trading. Like Democrats think like we're still living in that world. Screw that. We're not living in that world anymore. Again, last time I'll say it. We're not living in that world anymore. We have a president right now who's prepping the military for orders to fire on American citizens. We're not living in that world anymore. Second quickie. Keith, you got that picture of all those generals sitting there yesterday? Thank you, sir. Keep that up for a moment. 800 generals. Look at them. They didn't smile. They didn't applaud. They didn't cheer. They didn't say a damn thing. They sat there for almost 3 hours, 800 of our top commanders from the world. They sat there for almost 3 hours in stone cold silence. 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 Hegseth, keep that picture up, Keith. Hegseth, again, 17-year-old Pete Hegseth. It was like he was trying to be some cartoon version of George Patton. He's up there, man, and he's got his applause line set, and he's trying to fire them up. And they sat there, and their expressions on their faces did not change. Trump even got to the point where he said, you can applaud if you want. That's a pretty good line. You could cheer if you want, Nothing. Just want to make this really quick point. For 3 hours, their faces didn't change. And they didn't make a sound. They sat there in silence, these 800 generals did. Two quick thoughts. It's clear that Trump is prepping them, prepping our military for orders that are coming to fire on American citizens on our streets. The only question is, will those orders be followed in the upcoming weeks and months? We know what Trump wants. Trump wants military on the streets in democratic cities and states all over this country. He wants to fuck with the 2026 election. He'd like to cancel the 2026 election. He wants chaos and violence. He's trying to incite violence because he wants the military to shoot at American citizens. All of that. We know what Trump wants. He wants to intimidate brown and black voters. He wants military at polling places where black and brown folk vote, and he wants to keep black and brown folk from voting. We know what Trump's all about. The question is, what will the military do? Will the military follow those orders? When the president says, shoot, fire at American citizens. Their silence yesterday told me a lot. Their silence yesterday emboldened me, gave me some hope. For them, these 800 generals, silence was their resistance. This was resistance. We talk all the time about resistance, right? We got a fascist in the White House. One of our two major political parties is an authoritarian embracing cult. We got to resist this. We all are part of the resistance. That was silence for these generals. That was their act of resistance yesterday. And they should be applauded for it. And I thank them for it. Silence was their act of resistance. And a reminder to all the rest of us, that ain't our calling. All of the rest of us Americans in the resistance movement, we're not called to be silent, right? With a fascist in the White House who's just itching to put military all over the place in this country to fire on American citizens to prevent the 2026 election from happening. Man, our job is not to be silent. In fact, silence is utter cowardice. In the daily onslaught, I mean, think about what Trump's doing. Every single day, he's at war against democracy, the rule of law, constitution, pluralism, and basic human decency. In that daily onslaught, we can't be silent. To be silent is to be a coward. We're called to protest. We're called to march. We're called to inform our fellow citizens. We're called to engage in civil disobedience. We're called to vote. We're called to get others to vote. We're called to scream and yell righteously on social media. We're called to work our circles of influence. The book clubs we're part of, the soccer groups we're part of, the golf groups we're part of, the school groups we're part of, our email, our Facebook, all of our groups. We are called to speak up, especially these next 13 months before the 2026 elections. To be silent, for us to be silent. Their job yesterday, thanks Keith for that pick. Their job yesterday was to be silent. Ours is to be righteously pissed off. Hey, final quick thing I want to get to. And by the way, before I get to my last topic, it's such a part of what I'm trying to do with my Substack. It's my the social contract with Joe Walsh, the Substack. We're trying to build a community of resistance, of resistors. Thanks, Keith. Social contract with joewalsh.substack.com. We're trying to inform people and engage people on all the things they can do to be an effective resistor, to defend democracy, to get involved, to get engaged. And there are so many great Substack pages out there. So many great Substacks out there. Ours is specifically designed to be a community of people who want to resist this daily onslaught. So check it out. Check out our Substack. Join us, subscribe, social contract with joewalsh.substack.com. Every day in this country, American citizens are being swept up and detained by all of this cruel ICE bullshit. Every single day, American citizens are being grabbed off the streets, are being thrown to the ground, are being roughed up, are being detained for hours, are being disappeared, and are being deported to strange countries. Every single day, I'm talking about American citizens are being victimized by ICE. Keith, we got that story on George Radis. George Radis Jr., 25, a U.S. Army veteran who works as a security guard at Glass House Farms in Camarillo, California, said he had been trying to report to work in July as people protested an immigration sweep. He said that he tried to explain to officers that he was not involved with the demonstration and needed to get inside, but that he received conflicting instructions from the officers. He said he got back in his car and tried to reverse as some officers directed, but protesters were massing behind his vehicle. Federal officers then deployed tear gas on the crowd, broke his windshield, cast pepper spray on his face, and took him into custody. As he said, as they're walking me away, I'm yelling to them, I'm a U.S. citizen, I'm an American, I'm a veteran, I didn't do anything wrong, he said. He was held for 3 days without a phone call. 25-year-old U.S. Army veteran, grabbed and held for 3 days, an American citizen. That's just one story. I could spend every show for weeks just giving you examples of American citizens swept up and detained by ICE. American citizens. There was this Keith, I don't know if we have the video of that construction worker. There was.
Hey, that's illegal. Man, should I? No, fuck that, dude. And he's not even doing nothing wrong. He takes, what the fuck? He's a citizen, bro.
Oh, if you're a citizen,
He's a
they're
fucking
supposed to be doing that.
citizen.
Thanks, Keith.
If you're a
That's ICE grabbing an American citizen at a construction site 2 weeks ago, handcuffing him, throwing him to the ground, and detaining him for hours. He was an American citizen. He had valid real ID on him. That was 2 weeks ago at a construction site. You want to know the funny thing about this story? The same thing happened to him 3 weeks before that. This American citizen at the same construction site in the last month and a half has been grabbed, handcuffed, and detained twice by ICE. The same guy working at the same construction site, thrown to the ground both times, 3 weeks apart, handcuffed both times, 3 weeks apart, detained for hours, both times, 3 weeks apart. And both times he had his ID on him and showed ICE his ID. He was still grabbed, thrown into a van, and detained. Same guy. He's suing our federal government. Filed a class action lawsuit yesterday. This is going on every day, every single day. American citizens grabbed. These are two examples of two American citizens who went through hell, detained for days, one guy hours, and then released. Many of these stories end much more tragically. These American citizens are not released. These American citizens are still being held. These American citizens are inadvertently or accidentally or purposely deported. Again, the deal is we have the power to decide what kind of country we want to be. We have the ultimate power, the vote. We have the ultimate power, civil disobedience. We will have to employ both. And the great fear is Trump, the dictator, the fascist, knows that we have the ultimate power, the vote, which is why he's systematically trying to fuck up the vote in 2026 or cancel the vote in 2026, remove our power in 2026. And all I want for Christmas is for my new political party to understand this moment we're living in. That's all I want. All I want for Christmas is a party leadership and a party establishment that fucking gets it. That's all. Hey, just a short, quick, big plug for The Big Middle. You've heard me say The Big Middle, The Big Middle, The Big Middle. I love that name. Isn't that a great name? Cool name. The Big Middle. It's a new interactive website that I've been talking up the last few weeks that's just getting started. It's all about bringing Americans to consensus on issues, sitting Americans down who disagree on the issue of guns, and they got a week to figure the shit out, and they got to come to consensus on the issue of guns. This is what we used to do as a country, as a people. This is what we have to do again. The site is called The Big Middle, and I'm just asking everybody to give them a follow, subscribe to them if you'd like, as they try to get this noble project off the ground. Check out their Substack. It's called thebigmiddle.substack.com. thebigmiddle.substack.com. Shoot me an email about anything. The Social Contract with Joe Walsh at gmail.com. All one word, The Social Contract. Thanks, Keith. The Social Contract with Joe Walsh at gmail.com. Love you all. Thanks for listening. Hump Day. Be brave.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, share, and follow The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been The Social Contract with Joe Walsh.